And so from what I understand, you guys are sort of running a little, I guess, engagement style contest where some lucky winner gets to have a clinic with you. And can you tell me a little bit more about that and sort of what the genesis for that idea was?
Yeah, well, I do think it's important for us as players to kind of connect with the community. And I think just personally, it's something that I enjoy about the sport. Just seeing girls who are aspiring to either be on the national team or be in the NWSL, and that they're enthusiastic and passionate about football. And so I get to share some of the passion and training methods that I use to get here, and it is really enjoyable for me to be able to share my love for the game, especially with youth. I think that's important for us as players to kind of remember our personal journey that got us here, and be able to interact with people on their journeys. So, it's a way to kind of get out, be a part of the community, kind of reminisce in the good days when I was a young player and, I was looking up to players on the national team. And actually, Shannon Box personally trained me quite a bit along the way. And, I remember that. I was 8 years old and she was personally training me. And then when she made the national team, I followed her career and then, eventually played on the team with her. So that was a cool story for me. And to now be on the opposite end of it, I think it's a big honor and it's something that I take seriously.
Yeah, very much. So I'm based here in San Diego, and every so often Megan Rapinoe comes down here for whatever reason and does a couple clinics with Shannon McMillan's club team. So that's something that I guess I'm somewhat familiar with when it comes to just that concept of giving back and that concept of sort of engaging that next generation. One of the questions I sort of was also curious about was, I did an interview with Yale Avery Bush last year, and she really sort of came in strong when it came to the idea of current and active players doing exactly what it is that you're doing when it comes to camps, when it comes to clinics, when it comes to just engaging with that soccer community, and particularly that next generation. And I kind of just wanted to see if, you've somewhat answered it, but, wanted to sort of circle back around on that topic specifically when it comes to how important is it for someone of your status, someone of your caliber, national team player, for those of us in Southern California, hometown girl, to kind of do these types of things. And I guess, what sort of benefit do you see from doing that for yourself?
Well, I think for each player it is a little bit different and unique. And I personally don't have like a deep passion for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this in terms of like what exactly am I going to give back in terms of like a clinic, because I don't really feel like I should be like directing children because I don't really have any expertise in that. So where I come from personally is like I would like to interact with like youth or the next generation of players as if they were like my teammates, and just like go out and have a training session alongside them and kind of run them through the drills like as if they were kind of my equals, because that's how I train. That's like where I do feel like I have expertise because I've been doing that in my off seasons for like 7 seasons now.
Wow.
And it's a little bit different. I think a lot of the girls at this level do have a passion for coaching, do have an intention to coach after, and so that's a little bit of a different perspective for them. And but I do think that it is so important for us to pay attention to the next generation, because so much of what we're doing is trying to push the women's game forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that on the field with our play, but that is something that's going to end for everyone. It's very finite, and what we can do to continue to push the game is invest in the next generation of soccer players. And women's soccer is transitioning so quickly as the game evolves and as international soccer starts getting more money and teams get more competitive, international leagues are getting stronger. And so what can we do as American women to make sure that the national team's at the forefront now, but also at the forefront in 50 years? And it's something that we're investing so much through our play in the short term. And I do think that collectively we have a group of women that are very passionate about ensuring that the legacy continues after we're done playing as well.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you would include yourself in that group of women who is sort of forward thinking.
Absolutely, I like to think so. I like to think that there's a lot we can do outside of just playing soccer, which is obviously the main goal, 100% the priority. But off the field stuff, interactions with the communities, but also behind the scenes. Just looking at, protecting the players, pushing, the pay gap a little bit more narrow, just education, information, putting power into our union, those types of things that, make the game better for the people that come next. I think that's really important.
Okay. I guess in the landscape of women's soccer in this country in particular at this moment, obviously it's mid-February. We've just had a new sort of president come in. Where do you see not so much just your role, but the role of women's soccer in 2018 and going even further forward? We have a Women's World Cup next year. How do you feel like your activities over the last few months and over the next few months will sort of set the stage for what you do and for where the women's game goes in the next year or so?
Well, I think there's kind of two distinct parts for that, and one is just like on the field play, and as I spoke to before, the international game is just rapidly advancing, and so that makes our job as American women's soccer players much more difficult, because in the past we were just far ahead of all the other countries just in terms of resources, opportunities to play. The field, the staff that we had was just so far ahead of others, but year by year the gap closes, and now the most competitive teams that we play against have the same level of resources that we do, or close to the same. And so that means that the next World Cup is going to be harder than the last World Cup, and and as hard as that's going to be, the next one's definitely going to be harder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful thing. It's great for the game. It's going to make the games more exciting to watch for fans. But for us, that means we have to be constantly pushing the limits and constantly evolving in sophistication in how we play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other side of that is kind of the work for those resources, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally.
So making sure that the way that we are off the field is setting us up for success on the field. So they're like intricately tied, but that kind of stuff is the union work, is how we define professionalism. It's working to advance our league to make it more fair for all the players. And that, I think that's actually a harder battle, because, we got into the game because we love to play. And so that's always going to be our focus, and nothing can distract a player from that. And then the other side is kind of behind the scenes. It's always going to be secondary to just performance. But it's just as important. And we, as the women's national team, and, the NWSL is in the process of unionizing, we really are trying to push the limit of, our union 3 years ago basically didn't exist. I didn't even know I was in a union when I first got on the national team. And, we've come a really long way just with, hiring, legal representation, an executive director, making sure all the players are very informed in the different projects and work streams that we are developing in terms of, our marketing, our community outreach, internal relations, preparing for the next CBA negotiation. All these things are going on in the background, and it is the players' kind of responsibility to do a little bit of double duty,
Mm-hmm.
and it's optional, but it is for players who are more interested in the state of women's soccer and how we can make it better for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously in that sort of comprehensive thank you answer was a little bit that I think is really important to end on. You mentioned the love of the game and ultimately what sort of brought you onto this path in your life in the first place. And I kind of just want to end maybe on a high note, talking about the love of the game and talking about, your experience in the game. Can you maybe just recount, maybe your top one or two memories as a player, just experiences in the game, whether it's travel, whether it's goals scored or just, anything.
Yeah, well, I think for anyone who's been playing for this long, including myself, my relationship with football is very complex, and there's been so many different seasons and stages that I've had with it. And at first, I will say it was pretty stressful in college and as an early pro for me, because I was so result-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of come through a long funneling process where I really have refound my joy in training, my joy in playing, my joy in being on a team. And I think right now I'm in a place where I'm so excited for my future, because I really feel connected to my sport and connected to the people that I'm playing with. And that's a really cool thing for me. And I think that that's something that was intentional and thoughtful on my part, because I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I love, and I also know that my product is only good as my passion is. And so working through kind of the stressors of sport was something that was important for me. And I took a lot of time to, develop like the mental side of the game with meditation and yoga and various elements so that I could come to this place.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of, the way I feel personally is like I'm at the pinnacle of my career. The next 3 years, that's, probably the best 3 years that I'll have. And I have all that to look forward to. So in terms of best experiences, I think, some of the people that you meet along the way are just so amazing. In a lot of ways, playing on the national team kind of sweeps you off your feet with how you get treated and how you live. And so that's been a wonderful experience for me as well. And then on the field, I think the memories that I have that are most valuable to me are like the memories when someone else on the field like has trusted me, if that makes sense. It could be a small thing like, a pass or a look or a feeling that I have, but I think that what I most enjoy about this sport is when you work really hard to foster trust between your teammates, and that's something that that when it does happen, it means so much to me. And I have various memories, specific memories from when that happened after maybe a long, hard season where I didn't have such a good relationship with the player, and then it finally clicked, or something like that, where it all comes together in that kind of magical way that there's no way to describe it because it's something that just develops slowly over time, and that's the only way you can get there. I think those are the bits and pieces that mean the most to me.
Awesome. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. I know you've got to run, so I will let you go. I very, very much appreciate your time, and looking forward to maybe talking to you some other time in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.